Hello, everybody, and welcome to New Wine in Old Bottles, Educational Technology in the Performance-Based Classroom. This video is being made for the fine folks of the Kentucky Music Educators Association. We just recently had our virtual conference, and during my presentation, there may have been some technical difficulties with the internet and lag issues and different connection issues. So I decided to go ahead and make a video of the presentation and get it out there in case anybody wanted it. If you want a copy of this presentation, here is the bit.ly. You can go to this URL, keys, KMEA 21, and you can have a copy of this presentation if you want it. Now, throughout this presentation, there are some links that you can click on, so that might be worth having. Another way for you to get this presentation is to scan this QR code. And Google Chrome recently added a feature to where any web page can be turned into a QR code. And all you have to do is when you find your page, click in the Omni box up here, the address box. And over here, this little icon appears. And you click that, and it will make that web page a QR code that you can just scan and go immediately into. And since all the Google applications are web-based, basically they're web pages. You can do that with any Google Doc, any Google slideshow. You can create a QR code and put it out there, and anybody can scan it, including your students. They can come in and scan it, and then they have that information right at their fingertips. Just a little bit about me. I am the band director at Bondert Middle School in Frankfort. I've been there since 2012. I am in addition to the band director, I'm also a Google certified teacher, level 1 and 2, and I'm also a Google certified trainer and an Apple teacher. You can, once again, there's the address for this presentation if you want it. And then here's my Twitter handle. Follow me on Twitter. Let's get together and communicate that way. It's a nice way to still communicate with each other. And I know. We are about webinared online learning out. We've been inundated with these forever. It seems like, and it's like every day a PLN or a PLC or another class online. But at least we have the opportunity. At least we have that chance to see and be with each other. And so, yes, even though we're all kind of getting tired of it, I couldn't imagine going through the pandemic and all the shutdown without it. Now, the goal for this session is not to help you just to get through these trying times, but to also provide you with the tools and help that you need in the future. Listen, we're almost out of this. I think we can all see the light at the end of the tunnel. Vaccines are rolling out. The numbers are going down. It's starting to become manageable. Our schools are starting to open up to more in-person opportunities. I don't want to say schools are opening up because, listen, we all know schools have been open. We may not physically be in the building, but I think we all see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we're not going to really just talk about what we can do to get through this, which is part of it, but we want to talk about as we move forward, as we start thinking about next year, how can we continue to use educational technology inside of our ensembles? Online learning is not a new thing. It may have caught us off guard last March. It may have been difficult for us to pull our classes off, but online learning is not new. Many of you watching this video got your rank 1 or your master's degree virtually. Schools are doing that now. In 2002, I started a program at Western where I was going to get library media technology rank 1. And in 2002, that entire class was online. So online learning is not new. And so we need to kind of look at it and embrace it a little differently. We also look at virtual learning and in-person learning. And when we also look at virtual curriculum and in-person curriculum, we've got to stop separating those two. It is strictly learning and curriculum. What we want our kids to learn, we want them to learn either in person or virtually. We don't want two separate things. The same thing for our curriculum. We don't want two separate curriculums. We want one curriculum. Now, how that curriculum is delivered via in person or virtually, the delivery system is different. But what we want the kids to do is the same. And so as we move forward, let's not think in person and virtual. Let's just think what we want the kids to learn and how we're going to do it. And let's keep it the same and hold everybody up to those same things. Let the curriculum and learning be the focus, not the technology. Don't let the technology determine what you're going to teach. You, as the teacher, determine what your curriculum is and what you want your students to have. We then find the technology to fit and make it better. A return to normal. We hear that one a lot these days as well. And I think we're all wanting to get back into the school building with our students. But instead of saying a return to normal, let's start thinking moving forward. Because a lot of the things that we think were normal maybe weren't that great. And so now that we've had the pandemic since last March, almost a year now, we have the opportunity to reshape our programs, to reshape what it is we want our students to learn. So don't think of it as a return to something, because maybe what you want to return to wasn't that great to start with. What can we do moving forward? And the trick is to find that balance, a balance between technology and the traditions of what we've done in the classroom previously. Band, orchestra, and choir are some of the most traditionally taught subjects out there. We've done it the same way for decades. The trick is to find that balance. Where can we keep our traditions and where can we add the technology as we move forward? We teach how we are taught. I've said this before at different clinics and different sessions. No one watching this video came up in a band, orchestra, choir room, or music room that was inundated with technology. And so we as teachers emulate our teachers. I know I try to. I fail miserably because my teachers were amazing. But they used the tools they had to get us to achieve at a certain level. They just didn't have all the tools that we have available now. And I want to think that my teachers were dedicated and smart enough that if they had the tools available to them back then that we do now, they would have used them. Okay. The reason they didn't use them is because it wasn't available to them at the time. We have so many things available to us now that can enhance our learning and enhance the students' experience in our rooms that we need to take advantage of it. Now, I am not talking about replacing instruments. The only way to learn to play a viola or a trumpet or a clarinet or to sing is to do it. Okay. You can watch videos, but you're not going to learn how to do it. The horns on faces is greater than any amount of technology, but we can use the technology to enhance our students' experience in the room. We can use technology to motivate our students to do a little bit more. So we're not talking about replacing things. We're talking about finding ways for our students to achieve and learn more. Once again, there's the presentation URL if you want it. And there's just a couple of pictures of our boy, Chris Farley. I like these memes, so I included them there for your enjoyment. As we move forward, remember, we're not returning to normal. We're moving forward. As we move forward, ask yourself these two questions. What is something that you're already doing in person that can be accomplished through technology? As you develop your curriculum for these last 3 months before the end of the school year, or as you start thinking about, okay, next year we're going to do this and this and this. What are some of those in-person tasks that you're doing that you can do through technology? And then once you come up with a list, what tool can you use to accomplish those tasks? I think it's going to save you time. It's going to get your students a little bit more motivated. It's not going to affect learning. Remember, it's technology is just a different tool, and different does not always mean worse. So, what is something you're already doing that can be accomplished through technology? And then, what tool can we use to accomplish that? And then, before you throw any tool out to your kids, make sure that you're familiar with it, so that you can teach it a little bit. And this is where I put on here a teach the tech assignment. You give a new tool to your students. Create a short assignment. It doesn't have to be graded, but it's just a short assignment that lets the kids work through the program so that you know they know it and they know it. So as you move forward, that lag, that confusion isn't there. I know a new feature came out with the program that I use a couple of weeks ago, and I just had a short 10, 15-minute assignment that we did in one of our Google Meet sessions where I kind of talked the kids through the assignment. They showed me that they could use it. And now that I know, I feel comfortable that I can put an assignment in Google Classroom using that technology, and the students will understand how to do it. So think about a teach the tech assignment. And a teach the tech assignment doesn't have to take an entire class period. It may take 10 or 15 minutes, but the benefits you're going to get from that will be amazing. All right. It wouldn't be a technology session without talking a little bit about the Google. I don't want to talk a lot about the Google because I think we've all become a little bit more familiar with it as we move through. But Google Classroom is your home away from home. Whether you're in person or back to being virtual. It is a wonderful repository for all of your stuff that you do. That kids can go straight to and find out if they missed something, if they were sick a day, or if they had a field trip, or if they're missing something and they're not sure what to do. Google Classroom is where they can go to find out what they're doing. Be consistent with your labeling. You don't want the kids hunting and pecking trying to find something. If you're consistent with your labeling, the kids will know exactly where to go to find what they need for you. Topics is a great feature in Google Classroom, and I highly recommend you using a numbering system instead of letting it go alphabetically, because all the Google tools, when you look in your Google Drive, it's alphabetically. And so you've got things scattered all over the place. Now you can go in and change it by date and all this. But if you will use the 3-digit number system, 001 will be the first thing that appears. 002 will be second. And then so you can really keep the things that you really want important, that you're going to use a lot. If you number them that way, they will show up in your Google Drive. And here's my Google Classroom. This is my music, technology, arts, and humanities classroom. And I use a 3-digit numbering system, but it's a little different. For example, this week, 3.05, week of February 15th through 19th. I do 3.05, third quarter, fifth week. Third quarter, fourth week. That way, if a kid's missing something and they go, what did we do last week? I can say, well, find the week and everything you need that is in there. And then on the left-hand side over here, all your topics appear, and they appear by number. And so it's easier for the kids to find. The topics index over here is kind of like, bookmarks. You can just click them and it takes you right to that week that you go there, and you can hit all topics. But I highly recommend the 3-digit number system, and it works great in Google Drive. In my Google Drive, 001 space Bondard Middle School Band is the first thing that pops up. 002 Western Hills High School Band is the second thing that pops up, because those are the folders that I'm using the most, and I want access quicker to those folders. So I highly recommend the 3-digit numbering system. In Google Classroom, less is more. When we shut down in March of last year, I spent all this time writing these beautiful instructions. I put everything down there. I wanted to make sure the kids weren't confused about anything, that it was all. And so my instructions, I was so proud, but then kids never read them. So when you're putting instructions in Google Classroom, be very to the point. Get to the point, put it in there, and go on, because they're not going to read the 4 paragraphs that you wrote in there. They're going to look, what do we need to do? Boom, got it, go. And then when you do assign documents to your students, please look at that and make a copy for each student. That's going to save you a big headache down the road. All right, so less is more. Use topics, think about your numbering system, and be consistent in Google Classroom. I love spreadsheets. I would not have told you this a couple of years ago, but I'm starting to become more and more into spreadsheets. And so let me go ahead and take this down real quick. All I've done here is I've gone into Infinite Campus and I've gone down to reports, and then this comes up, and then I'm able to make a blank spreadsheet of my class, and it's a roster of all of my kids and all of my classes that are in here. And this is great, but it doesn't let me sort by instrument. And I've tried to get Infinite Campus to add a little button that I can add to do instruments or some other kind of way of sorting, but it can't. But all you got to do is, once you get your blank report up, you can just highlight and copy these. And if you just highlight it normally and hit right-click copy, you can then go into Google Sheets, put on here, and then you would just hit paste values only, and it would show up like this. Well, it's still not separated enough to where I can really use it. So I'm going to highlight this column. Then I'm going to go over here to data, split text into columns. And all of a sudden it takes it. Now I've got grade first name and last name. I can even go further. I can go ahead and insert a new column to the right. I can highlight this. I can go data, split text into columns. And now I've got grade, last name, first name. So now my sorting options are getting better. And then if I want, I can then start here and I can start typing in their instrument. That way I have another column. This has been such a time saver. In the past, I've sat and entered in all this information by hand. Now you can just go in and do the copy and paste it in there, and then do the data, and then split text into columns. And it will come up with something like this, and you can do it by comma, semicolon, period, space, whatever you have, whatever your data shows you when you put it in there, you can separate by. Another thing I really like is I can highlight this column here, and then I can put insert checkboxes. I love checkboxes. If I'm taking attendance real quick and I've got my Chromebook out, I have this put up, I can go, okay, present. Oh, you don't have your stuff today. Okay, boom. Boom. I love checkboxes. So split text into columns and checkboxes are some wonderful tools that I think you can use that might save you a little bit of time in Google Sheets. In YouTube, everything is on YouTube. Over the years, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on CDs, looking for specific songs by specific artists so you can compare and contrast and hear interpretations. Everything's on YouTube now. Everything. I've tried to look for some really obscure band songs, and I end up finding them. And so they're on there. And so you can create playlists for your students so that they can have models to listen to. How do they know what a great sound is if they've never really heard one? And Junior sitting next to them may not be the example you want them to model. And so create playlists for your students, create a YouTube page for your ensemble, put it out there for the community to see, put it out there for your students to see each other. Now, I discovered this a couple of weeks ago as well. If you don't like ads, I've been in class and I pull up a YouTube video and all of a sudden some really inappropriate ads, inappropriate for school ads show up. If between the T and the U in YouTube of any YouTube video URL, if you put a dash between the T and the U in YouTube, that video plays without ads. And then you can also copy and share that link with the dash in it. And when the students open it up, it plays without ads. So that's been a really handy discovery over the last couple of weeks. So a dash between the T and U in YouTube in the URL will make it ad free. All right, apps, extensions, and add-ons. If you're looking for extensions for your Google Chrome, you would go to chrome.google.com. Extensions are programs created by people that aren't created officially by Google, but they work with the tools. And there's been a lot of extensions out there that started out as extensions that became very popular that Google has gone ahead and integrated. So you can just go to chrome.google.com and look for all the different extensions and all the different tools that are there to add to your Google. These are three of my favorites and a lot of my go-tos. Flipgrid is a program, and I think a lot of us over the pandemic have learned about Flipgrid. It is a video-based program that the students can record themselves, a video of themselves playing, and submit it to you. I like video-based assessment better than audio assessment because video lets me look at posture and embouchure. It lets me look at other things other than just listening to them. And it lets me provide feedback that way. Flipgrid is free. And all of these are links. So if you were to click on them, it would take you to their pages. This is a little educator's guide to Flipgrid. This may be outdated because all this stuff is constantly evolving. But Flipgrid is an excellent tool. I can send out a playing test for my students with the link to Flipgrid. They click on it, they record themselves, they're done. You can create a rubric. You can provide immediate feedback. You can set it up to where everybody can see it or just you can see it for those kids that are shy. But in the time of the pandemic, when we're not allowed to do a lot of performances, Flipgrid is a way to teach those performance skills because the kids are still performing. They're still performing. They're just doing it for you. And so we're able to do those different skills. Screencastify is a screencasting add-on, and it's what I'm using to make this presentation. You can record your screen and have your picture down here in the bottom, or you can move that picture around. You can show anything that's on your screen you can show, or it can just be just the webcam. I use Screencastify a lot to put explainer videos up in Google Classroom. Once again, they're not going to read those instructions, but they may watch a 1 or 2 minute video of you explaining it. Plus, the kids have the opportunity to go back and watch it again if they get confused about something. They have what we call the power of pause and rewind. And so you can put a video out explaining something. And then in a couple of weeks, they may get confused and go, now, how do we do that again? Well, they can go back and watch the video, and it's going to save you some time, and it's going to provide them with that resource. Mote is a fairly new tool that allows you, instead of typing feedback, I am not the greatest typer in the world. And so when my students turn in a doc or an assignment, and I want to give them feedback on it, instead of typing the feedback into comments, I can click it and then I can speak the comments, and the kids get an MP3 of me giving them feedback. And you can also get a written transcript if you need that for further use. Now, Flipgrid, all of these things on here are links. So if you got the presentation, you can click on the links and you can go through there and experiment and play around. Now we're going to talk about music-specific apps. Those things were not originally created for music. We've just taken them and used them in a musical way. My go-to is Noteflight. Noteflight is an online music notation program. It works on any device. I can work at school on something, shut that computer down, go home, open up a different computer, and there it is, ready to go. One subscription covers every one of my devices. Noteflight Learn is the educational arm of Noteflight, and it is intended for students of all ages. So it's FERPA, COPA compliant, Copa Cabana compliant, and it is open for all ages. Noteflight is a Hal Leonard company, and so Hal Leonard has made a big investment into Noteflight, and so it is getting better and better all the time, and they're adding new features all the time. And one of the new features that they just added was the sound check feature. And what the sound check feature does is it allows any Noteflight file, something that's already been created, something that you create, something that the students create, can be turned into a sound check file that allows for, once it is being played, it provides feedback to the students. It provides feedback on rhythm, pitch, intonation, and you can set it up in different ways. So we're going to look a little bit about it. One thing about Noteflight that I like over, say, other music notation programs is it's so easy to use. I really thought it would take a while for my kids to learn how to use Noteflight, but they caught on real quick. It uses a lot of the same shortcuts that you would use in a Google Doc or a Word document. Control A selects A, Control C copy, Control X delete. I mean, it uses a lot of the same shortcuts that you're used to, and it's just very intuitive. The kids will learn it. Now, this is my scores page. This is what opens up when you open up Noteflight. But to save a little time, I went ahead and had a different tab open. But inside of Noteflight, there is something called a content library. And included with the basic subscription to Noteflight is the Noteflight Learn library. And inside the Noteflight Learn library, let's see how good the internet does today. You have sight reading exercises, scale exercises, theory, melody, chorale, and composition exercises that you can bring up and send out to your kids through Noteflight. Noteflight speaks to Google Classroom wonderfully. We are a Google school, and so I can pull up something in Noteflight and send it out through Google Classroom. It also works with other LMSs, Schoology, Blackboard, Canva. It works with all of them. But this is included. The Noteflight content library is included for a small additional cost. You have access to what is called the content libraries. And this is all of Hal Leonard's music. This is Hal Leonard's pop library, band library, choir library, piano, guitar, and orchestra. And so all of the Hal Leonard's music has been put into Noteflight and put up here for you to use. And I know just last week alone, they added over 500 new pieces. So they are constantly getting these pieces typeset and put in there, and you can have access to it. So for example, here is a piece by Paul Lavender called Dragonfire. And this is from the band library. I made a copy of this one to send out to my kids to work on. Let's let it open up here again. Once again, slow internet, and a lot of your kids have slow internet too. So please have some patience and love for them. But here is the Dragonfire as a notation program. I can, and because it's in Noteflight, I can edit it. I can change the key. I can reorchestrate it. If I'm having a struggling, I don't know, section that section is they need help, I can reorchestrate it. It's a Noteflight file. And so I can do with it as I want. And then let me get my face out of the way over here. I can create an assignment in Google Classroom, and I can send this out to my kids to Google Classroom, and they will get a copy of it. Now, that is just a basic Noteflight file. I've also taken Dragonfire, and I have turned it into a sound check file. And what it allows me to do is I can send this out to my students. And once again, we did a teach the tech assignment. We went through sound check and we showed the kids really quickly how to do it. They can just come up and they select what part they play. Let's go ahead and do alto sax today. And then just the alto saxophone part shows up. And so they can play and hear the part. That provides them a listening model to go by. And then when it's time to assess, you can say this week, I want my saxophones to work on measure 1 through 17. They would just grab this end here and put it down here on 17, and then they would record themselves and they would get feedback on those measures. And then next week I can do 17 to 25, or I can keep adding measures to it. And then after a few weeks, I can go, okay, beginning to the end, record and assess yourself. And Noteflight, the sound check feature, you can come into the sound check feature and you can set a score goal. Since this was our very first one, I set it at 60%. I wanted 60%. I want you to get 60% of it right. You can set it at a difficulty, easy, medium, or hard for the sound check to provide them feedback with. And then you can set the number of attempts. If you want them to do it in just one attempt, then you put one on there. For this one, I set it unlimited. So a kid can set the markers, record themselves. If they like it, they can turn it in. If they don't like it, they can record it again. And so the sound check feature has been a real help. Another thing that was helpful about Noteflight, the pop library. I had my kids go through, I think we've all been there, where we want our kids to do something. I wanted my kids to do something. And so I was getting kind of frustrated with it. But they have access to all of these pop songs. And you can go through pop standards, film, show tunes, all the ones over here, Disney. You can pick it by key, and then they can pull it up, and then they can edit it because it's a Noteflight file. They can edit it for their instrument, and they can sit and they can learn. They can play the horns, and they can play more music that they're maybe more familiar with. Something that they may have heard on the radio. They can now do it, which might, I don't know, it might inspire them or motivate them to practice their horns a little bit better. But I really, like I say, last week they just added over 500 new tunes, and I guarantee you in a couple weeks they're going to add 500 more. And the content is getting more and more every day. Another thing that they have just added, and I mean just added, as in 2 days ago, the Essential Elements band and orchestra method books. Book 1, book 2, and book 3 of all are on here. And so you can pull up assignments for these kids, for your students, and send them out to them. You can take the Fab Five, and you can open up the Fab Five and you can send it out to your book 1 people, and they can then have it. They have an oral model to listen to. You can create a sound check file with it. So you want to create a sound check file and send it out, and then where your beginners can play the Fab Five, and it will provide them feedback on it. The only thing that, and this is the same thing for most content libraries and most programs, you don't get the teaching materials with it. And that's not the whole purpose. I think with anything you do, you want the real band book in front of the kids, but this allows you to send out this exercise. The kids can edit it. The kids can create sound check files. You can create sound check files. And, if you have the ability to go in and edit these to fit your needs and your kids' needs. So Noteflight is a wonderful tool that I think is really worth looking at. And as far as the cost of it, I got for my students Noteflight, a subscription to Noteflight, the content libraries, all of them, and the sound check feature added, and it was like $8 per student. And as far as I'm concerned, it was money well spent. Another program that I use with a lot of my students is Soundtrap. And Soundtrap is very similar to GarageBand, where GarageBand is only available on Macintosh computers, MacBooks and all that, and iPads. Soundtrap goes across all platforms, and it's basically an online music studio. It's full features. It's got everything on it that you would need when it comes to creating. It is what's just like Noteflight. It is so easy to use that I've talked to people about other digital audio workstations. And when I show them Soundtrap, they are blown away by just how easy it is to use. And I use it a lot with my general music and arts and humanities classes. As a matter of fact, they've almost turned into Soundtrap classes because I can still teach the elements of music. I can still teach rhythm and form and all that stuff with Soundtrap. And it kind of meets the kids where they're at. It's got the sounds, it's got the loops that the kids are used to hearing anyway, but I can still talk about all the elements of music in it. Soundtrap runs about $4 per student. And that's unlimited access. You can get a free version of Soundtrap, but you are very limited on to what you can do with the free version. But when you're looking for something to kind of motivate your kids, and they can upload their own MP3s into Soundtrap. They can record themselves playing into Soundtrap and then add different loops and things around it. For example, the Fab Five from Noteflight that we looked at from the beginning band book 1. They can record themselves playing that, but then they can put like a hip hop beat underneath of it and they can mix it. And it's a lot of fun. And I think what it does is it's one of those tools that can be used to motivate those kids to practice a little bit more, because they may work on the Fab Five, it not line up real great with what they created in Soundtrap. Well, they're going to practice it and they're going to do it again and they're going to do it again. And so it's a really great way to trick the kids into practicing. So if you're looking for an easy to use, full blown digital audio workstation, Soundtrap is the absolute way to go. And this is a link that will take you to the Soundtrap site. And just like Noteflight will give you a 60-day premium access, so will Soundtrap. Now, when I was putting this presentation together, I was really thinking, what are some new ways to think outside the box when it comes to using technology as we develop our curriculum learning? So I just kind of went through and I brainstormed a few ideas. You can look at these. These are ideas of things that you're probably doing or you could do, and then it's the tool that you could use to accomplish that. For example, playing assessments. I love hearing my kids play individually, but going around the room all the time really can take away a lot of rehearsal time that is important for what we do. And so you can use Noteflight Learn with Soundcheck. You can use Flipgrid. You can use Screencastify and say, all right, this week I want you to do your Flipgrid on number 72 from the book. Have it due by Friday, and then you can go back and have class. So playing assessments, using those tools, listening assessments, you can use YouTube, Noteflight Learn, in all those libraries. If I open up something from the band library, the official Hal Leonard recording is right there. And so it's another way to hear a professional group play that recording. Then they can respond to you on Google Forms or on a Google Doc, or they can respond to you on a Flipgrid. An instrument research project. Have the kids look up the history of their instrument, how it's changed over the years. My kids got a real kick out of sackbut, and I'm not sure if it's because of the instrument or just because it's a funny word to say. Performance reflections. Have your kids talk about a performance, and it doesn't have to be a band concert or a marching band contest. It can be, all right, tell me about your playing test that you did. What are some things that what did you do well? What can you do better? Concert programs, let the kids create them. They have fun doing it. And you can use Google Slides, Google Sites. I didn't talk about Adobe Spark, but it is a wonderful tool for graphics and graphic design that's free, that's out there that you can use. It's wonderful. Backing tracks. Have the students create backing tracks to the etudes that they're playing out of the book. They will create backing tracks that are a whole lot better than those CDs that come with the band books and those MP3s that are out there right now. My kids will use those for about I don't know, a minute and a half and then realize how hokey they are. But if you give them the opportunity to create their own, they will. Composition projects. Have your students write a melody. One of the things I did with my students is I had them create their own playing test. They used Noteflight. They created their own playing test. My younger kids did 16 measure melody. My older kids did a 32 measure melody. And the only restrictions that I put on it was that they had to be able to play it. And so I had them try to think about the notes and rhythms that they've learned over the time that we've been together and write their own playing test. And some really great things came out of it. As a matter of fact, a couple of kids wanted to write a piece for band. And I told them if they write it, we're going to play it. I don't care what it sounds like. We're going to play it. Because if they're going to sit and write a piece for the band, we're going to keep encouraging that. Judges tapes. We've all heard them. We've all played them for our kids. Let our kids be the judge. Upload the recording of your band or your orchestra or your choir singing or playing, and then let the kids speak as a judge would speak about what they hear. You don't have to do the whole concert. Maybe you can just splice out one song, put it in Soundtrap. The kids can then listen and talk along as if they were a judge. Give them the KMEA sheet, give them the rubric that the judges use, and have them talk about what it is they hear. Living room concerts, playing for mom and dad, playing for grandma. It's a performance skill. Get them out there performing. Student created assessments. Let the kids create a test for you. They can use Google Forms. Tell them to create a 10 question test over the band book, page 1 to 6. Then you collect them, and now you have all these test questions that you can use later. Once again, rhythm sheets and note names. This is one that I fail. For me, it was a fail. I wish it would have dawned on me, and I feel inadequate for not doing it. But we are no longer limited by really finances when it comes to bringing in the masters. And then so as you high school band directors, as you start planning your fall and you start planning your band camp, I don't want you to get rid of your band camp staff. They're great. You've developed a relationship with them. Don't get rid of them. But boy, wouldn't it be kind of cool to have a master class with the Chicago Symphony Brass Section? You can now. You can set those up to where those people, you can have Gene Percorny do a tuba masterclass with your tuba section now, and all you got to do is call him. And I guarantee you they would say yes. And then you set up a Google Meet, and then even if it's in the middle of marching fundamentals, if Gene Percorny is going to do a clinic with your tubas, you send the tubas inside. They can get marching fundamentals later. But think about it. You can get a hold of people at the Marine Band. You can get a hold of people at the Navy Band, the New York Philharmonic, the St. Louis Symphony. You can get a hold of all of these people and say, would you give a master class to this group of students? Set up a Google link, put it out there, and then all of a sudden you're making these connections. And you don't have to worry about hotel and travel expenses. I'm sure you'll have to pay them a fee, which is going to be worth it. But think about that as you go forward. Even when we are full-blown in-person schools in session, set these up. I guarantee you, we look at some of these people sometimes as lofty individuals. Oh my gosh, they're so unreachable. Man, they're human beings, and 95% of them would absolutely love to do it. And just some mundane tools that you do every day: attendance, gathering information, rehearsal outlines. These are the tools that you can use for those, just to save you some time as you go forward. I'm really thinking about this one here, is putting a QR code up on the door. And as the kids come in, they just scan their phones, and it takes attendance for me. That way it saves time. That may be something might be handy during marching band. You can put attendance on the bus door, and you can scan it, and it will let you know who's on that bus. Just some thoughts. And then there's some other things for you to look at. These are all links, and you can just click on them and play. These are music specific. These are non-music ones. You can sit and play with those. These are links to the Chrome Music Lab and the different parts of those. Good way to have fun and to put a little gamification into the music learning aspect of it. And then as we wrap this up, professional development. We've all sat through professional developments that were just not meant for us. They weren't meant for music teachers. And so if you want, I am more than willing to set up professional developments with you and your staff that are relevant for what we do. It can be centered around music technology. We can do a Noteflight PD. We can do some PDs on Noteflight and/or Soundtrap. I am a Google certified trainer, so if you want to set up a PD over the Google apps for education and how we can use them more effectively, we can do that. And then there are other tools that we can use throughout our curriculum. So if you're interested in some type of professional development experience that might be relevant to your faculty or staff, my email address is right down there at the bottom, stevenkeys.edtech@gmail.com. And there's even my phone number. Give me a call. Have the people who are in charge of those PDs give me a call. We can set something up. I love doing it. I'm so over teachers pay teachers. It's teachers help teachers. You guys out there in video world are doing some great things. Share them out. If they're good for your kids, they're good for my kids. They're good for everybody's kids. And especially as we move forward, remember, we're not making a return. We're moving forward. It is very important that we all succeed. We're all going to need help. We're all going to be in the middle of the rebuilding process. And if the more hands on deck, the better. And so let's help each other. So if you want to set up some type of professional development, please feel free to give me a call. I've done them with other districts throughout surrounding states, and the feedback has been very positive. So if you want that, there's my information. Give me a call. I want to thank you for watching this video. Here's my contact information again. There's my Twitter and there's my email. Please feel free to contact me at any point with any questions, concerns. I'm always willing to help. And thank you, and see you next time.